Well, and that was my thing is, so I think that if I go too hard where I'm like, oh, this is, oh, as a matter of fact, can you send it to me real quick? The list? Yes.
This is great. I haven't got the URL on screen, have I? No, I haven't. Smart me. Very smart of me.
What is this? God damn it. Okay. Anyways, point being that the one thing that I think is like super weak on his end is the fact that he all this other stuff or whatever, I think you can address fairly easily from a personal standpoint. And I think what I'm going to do is, if I try to answer these on your behalf, it's going to look like I'm just trying to sweep or protect. But the one thing that I think that I need to...
Curious. Do I let him know or not? Is Wu not in here?
Well, he's just going to say, "Oh, well, you're a liar." Yeah. Well, then he's just going to say, "Well, I think you're a liar, and this is my earnestly held belief." So it's not defamatory. Okay. Okay, what I would say is
already
there's a few things that I think are super weak in his arguments, which is basically like a lot of these aren't verifiable. Like he showed evidence as if it was evidence, but it didn't show what he said it showed.
What didn't it show?
And then also, what was the other thing? So he presented, I think one of the weakest points that I would probably hammer him on again, is the fact that like he extends all of this charity to all of the people who were like threatening you during the Gamergate era, where it's like, oh, it's all jokes, it's all satire, these weren't real death threats, she's exaggerating it in order to play victim, etc., etc., etc. But then he took the Keffel's please do cocaine with all your charity money. He took that as like a serious statement. Like Brianna Wu are saying like, yeah, hey, Keffel's, go ahead and do $100,000 worth of cocaine, as if that could possibly be a serious statement instead of a joke. And I think that anybody who doesn't have autism knows that's a joke.
Is he realizing? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, I've been in here a while. You sent me the link.
Yeah, 601.
Yeah, okay. I just like I heard all of that. That's all. It seemed like you guys were talking alone. Like it was a private conversation I was here for.
Well, it wasn't too private. It's basically what we think is your weakest stuff and what we think is your strongest stuff.
Cool.
So we're literally about to talk about all of it right now. So yeah.
Okay. I'd love to.
Okay. Do you have a camera that you can put on StreamYard? I'm not on
camera. No.
Okay. Do you have a Quiggler? Do you have a Queefer?
You want me to send you a Quiggler? I can send you one.
No, I'm okay. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm waiting for Brianna.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, it's all right.
How's life?
Yeah, amazing. Just finished the video. It's doing okay.
Yeah. Well, I would presume that was, how do I phrase this? You either have a Machiavellian streak or you have autism, or both. So do you want to explain your rationale behind it? That way I don't have to.
My rationale is, if someone's gonna goad me and sit there being like, oh, whenever this person wants to put on their big boy pants, we can come talk. If they're gonna do that, then yeah, I'm gonna go make a video on all the terrible shit you've done before we go and talk. Yeah. because I'm not
was
having
that me or Brianna?
That was Brianna. That was Brianna. From behind the block too, I'd like to add.
Okay. Well, Brianna's here, so I'm gonna add and fuck with the shit, and then I'm gonna go live on my end. Okay. All right. And then that is not looking the way I want it to, so we'll just go with this one. All right, and then Brianna, can you hear us okay?
I sure can.
Okay, Mr. Kuihman is in with us, but he does not have camera that he can hook up for it, so we're just gonna
we're not going to get to see his face? That's so sad. I would think you'd want to show your fucking face, but you know.
I mean, well, when you show your actual face without 5 filters on it, we can talk. But
it's called
Jesus. Can we save the band for the actual shit? So, anyways, I'm going live on our end. And I guess I'll do kind of setting the stage, so to speak, since I guess I'm hosting. So, good evening, everyone in posterity. The way that this came to be is I'll just hit it from my perspective. So I'm a fan of the commentary community and the drama community. I think that all things considered, while they often do focus on very silly things, they do have a penchant for being honest and critical and abrasive and annoying, which can be fun or funny when you don't like their targets. When you do like their targets, it can be frustrating and annoying and kind of abrasive. So I am a, relatively speaking, fan of Kuihman's work. I'm relatively speaking a fan of Chud Logic's work, but I also find that they are abrasive. When it comes to Miss Brianna, you know, we're obviously friends. We work on content together, and it seemed like Mr. Kuihman had a healthy chunk of criticism for me and for Miss Brianna when it came to Keffels in particular. And I think that Kuihman's content is at its best when he is summarizing arguments, saying why they're incorrect, and then basically coming up with his own insights. I think his content is at its weakest when he's just calling everybody else an idiot or a spurg or a dumbass or a retard or any variation of those words or other words that he chooses to describe. So I basically said, well, Mr. Kuihman, if you take issue with what I've said or what, you know, Miss Brianna has said, then I invite you to talk it with me. I'm not personally scared of you. I'm not personally scared of the commentary community. So if you want to have a conversation, that's fine. And then Miss Brianna also jumped into the Twitter reply section and said that she is down for the conversation as well.
Yeah, from behind the block
today.
Yeah. Just I'd like to add that from behind the block.
Well, let's get. We will have plenty of time to get into the content. I have watched the Kuihman Brianna Wu summary. I also shot it over to Brianna with some cliff notes. So we're here basically to hash it out and air it out as best we can. So does either one of you want to lead us off?
I'm good.
No, I'm easy as well. Yeah. What's the setup here? Do you want to go for me bringing stuff up, or do you guys want to bring stuff up from the video? You said you've got notes, so I don't know if you want to start off there.
Connor?
Sure. I mean, if you want me to read the main takeaways that I had from it as a topic of discussion, then we can do that.
I mean, we'll just go down through the list, and we can just point out all the factual errors, mistaken judgments, libelous, defamatory statements, and weak reasoning. Why don't we just go on through it?
All right, so let's do the first one. So the first one that I took a note on was Brianna Wu claimed to have degrees, but only shows attending a university for a decade in her transcript with no final degree.
So I did not. So let me ask you a question, Kuihman. I just want all the listeners to know you won't show your face. So do you know who David Whitford is?
Is that some Nazi guy? Roughly.
No, it's not a Nazi guy. Do you know who this is?
Yeah, I think he had some association with Milo, didn't he?
No. Do you know who David Whitford is?
No, I've got no idea who David Whitford is. I thought I read the name. I'm looking into you. Nope, not right now.
Look it up?
Nope.
Really? You have no idea who David Whitford is?
No, does this have any relevance to you having a degree?
Yeah, it does, actually.
Okay, could you explain the relevance to you having a degree?
Why don't you shut up? This is my show. I'm going to talk.
It's my show too, actually. I'm on my stream as well, actually. So
Oh my
I can actually talk pretty freely.
We're just going
to not measure. Let's get into the information.
We'll do it. So David Whitford is a person who is a really long-standing reporter. He worked at Inc. magazine for many years, and in the middle of Gamergate, he spent, my gosh, it must have been 2 weeks following me around. This is an old school reporter. Went through every single detail of my life.
I've literally got this article in my video. Sorry, I just didn't know the name. Okay, but I've got literally this article in my video.
Literally poured through every.
I've got literally this article is in my video
for a feature in Inc. magazine.
Yeah, this is in my video.
If you are interested in a factual summary of everything that happened in my life, yeah, you probably shouldn't go to Kiwi Farms.
I didn't go to Kiwi. I didn't actually use Kiwi Farms once. I didn't use Kiwi Farms once.
Stuff about that there. In this piece, it talks about.
I know they muted me. I'm just talking for you guys.
Why did I not get a degree? It was because I.
It's not about not getting it. It's about lying.
I left the University of Mississippi for multiple years. I lived in Jackson, Mississippi. This is when I did my game studio.
I'll just talk for you guys. Okay, that's fine.
I was struggling with drug addiction and alcohol addiction for the entire time.
That's right. We'll just talk, guys. We can chat. Thanks for the $50 vodka. Huge thank you.
All of this goes together. Like, I've talked about every bit of this completely honestly and openly before. I actually don't have anything to hide. So I would really just suggest you go read that piece. It is the most accurate thing that's been written about that. And I'm sure in that piece, it talks about how I did not get my degree, something I've never claimed to have.
That's a lie. You have claimed to have a degree.
No, I haven't.
You have. There's numerous IGN posts on the username SpaceCatGal from way before you started appearing in public under that, like as in the Gamergate public with that name. So it wasn't someone faking being you. There's plenty of IGN posts where you were claiming to have a degree that are archived on the web archive, not just on Kiwi Farms. There's also an episode of a podcast. There's also an episode of a podcast. Oh, so she's moving. Okay.
Going one at a time. I would need to see that. You know, in my public role for me, Brianna Wu, the person who came to be relevant, like in the public eye after Gamergate, I've been completely honest with this. Now, there was one article, to my knowledge, that came out, and I said I went to the University of Mississippi to the reporter. They interpreted that to mean that I graduated. I did not. They misquoted me at the time. And something I think you'll find is not every publication has the same level of fact checking that, say, the New York Times does, or Inc. magazine has, or the Wall Street Journal has. So if you go through that, you'll see a very consistent statement.
Well, if we
sorry, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second, Connor. You just lied to me again, because I actually in August of 2014, you were actually claiming on our podcast that you went back to university and finished your degree and became an investigative journalist. You actually did say that after Gamergate started. You did claim that. You misspoke. Okay.
Then
okay.
For the sake of, let's say that Brianna has this source that says, no, I didn't say it, I phrased it this way. Kuihman says, nope, you did phrase it this way. What is your educational background to be stated clearly now?
Sure. I went to a ton of college and I didn't succeed at getting a degree for many reasons. Part of it was the drug addiction. Part of it was other stuff that I was dealing with. My family disowned me in the last 6 months of college, and I found myself homeless right after that. So
out of personal curiosity, so for instance, I did the interdisciplinary degree program, which was actually a combination of 3 minors in order to get like a major, and it was like 120 credits or so. Do you remember how many credits you got during your attendance?
I was missing, I think, a mathematics class and one other thing. So
pretty close to an associate's or pretty close to a bachelor's?
Pretty close to a bachelor's.
Okay. All right, Kuihman, do you have any other points that you want to make before we move to the next one?
No, I was never claiming that Wu still lied about this. I always said she stopped lying about it in 2015 after Milo showed the transcripts. Yeah.
Okay, well, then next point was claims to be a cybersecurity expert despite not having the credentials for that title.
Sure. She's got no experience as a cybersecurity expert from what I can tell, but yeah, go for it.
Sure. As far as a policy level of expertise, I'm not claiming
a policy level. Dude, that's fucking hell. That's
you need to let me talk. So This was my congressional campaign. One of the things I ran for in my congressional campaign was taking cybersecurity very seriously. I talked to more people that I can begin to think about on cybersecurity issues.
Instantly muted again, by the way. Muted again.
And, you know, you've got to understand, everyone in Congress is very, very old, and the people that serve on the committees to do cybersecurity, they just don't take it seriously. A really good example, Connor, can you help me remember, what was the bill a few years ago? Was it the SOPA Act? Can you remember that?
I can Google it.
Stop Online Piracy Act. Even I remember this. Come on, Wu. Let's burn through this retarded bullshit. Yeah, you stupid bitch.
She was one of the people serving on the cybersecurity committee and actually tried to blame this bill, basically saying we needed to curtail First Amendment.
Let's pump those donos, guys. Pump those fucking donos. Let's go, guys. While I'm muted, pump those donos.
A person that is basically making this policy. So, you know, my expertise that I brought into this is I'd been a tech journalist for a long time. I'd worked as a software engineer, and I'd followed it very, very carefully as someone who was very interested in that public policy. So, you know, is expert a little bit of political juice? Sure. But I think if you listen to me talk over a decade that I've been talking on public policy and tech, specifically my many, many, many appearances on Twit with Leo Laporte, I think most people would say I'd be a really big step up as far as setting the public policy on that. So you can make the appraisal the expert is a little too much. I would probably say that.
Thank you, Vodka.
It's a congressional campaign.
So you're not a cybersecurity expert at all then?
I think I would form extremely good cybersecurity policy for the country.
So you're not a cybersecurity expert at all then? I'd also like to point out that last week you were saying how amazing Stardust's video on Frogan was, which included a whole section talking about how Frogan wasn't an expert because she only had a master's and 2 years experience in the field.
Sure.
By that metric, Brianna, you were an absolute horrific liar in your congressional ad when you're trying to take public office. Probably the worst time to lie that I can possibly imagine.
Okay, you can make that assessment.
Yep, I will make that assessment. You are a sick person, truly sick.
Kuihman, so I'm gonna say this. If we're gonna go through this, like, you're getting, I guess what we're kind of doing now for the sake of flow is I'm not Brianna, right? So this is her history. You know, she's telling the story as it is. If you have like contradictory evidence, that's fine. And we can go back and forth on it. I think what's going to drag this down, though, is, for instance, if, you know, Brianna's making a response, you're smugly laughing, so then you get, you know, muted every single time. Then we listen to Brianna talk for a minute. Then you say, that's not true. And then we just repeat that like 30 times. That's probably not going to be decent content. So if possible,
I'd agree. If I stopped getting muted, it'd be way better content.
Like chill on the personal shit, but more present like contradictory information or the way that you see it or something like that. I would be, I mean, that's fine by me. Or I think that would be better content.
No, I think you've seen enough Destiny content to know that it's important to interrupt someone when they start building a whole point based on lies in the first sentence. No, I think I will keep interrupting if Brianna's going to lie.
I'm not lying, dude.
You did lie to me. You did lie to me. Okay, I've been muted again. Again, I've been muted again. She can't hear it. She can't take it. She can't take it.
You're coming into this conversation with a point of view, and you're just
see, look at this. It's just that it's
to answer these questions. We can go through it one at a time. You know, but just
look. See, look how the energy changes. I was defaming her a minute ago. I was defaming you a minute ago. Where, like, all of a sudden now you're falling back. I thought you were going to disprove everything I said. I thought this was going to be.
So we can save this until the end, dude. But I know you've probably never read a book on communication law and how this works.
Well, but I think you should be able to clearly explain to me what the lie is, where
Jesus
I was lying.
Christ, Connor, I can't do this if I can't get a sentence out. I'm being calm. He's being a jackass. This is crazy. So I know you've probably never read a book on communication law, but when you say things about people, there's some things that protect you from defamatory lawsuits. One of the major tools is reportage. This is very, very helpful. So if I can point to something and say, I'm not saying this, I'm not claiming this, the New York Times is saying this, that is a higher level of credibility than if you were to point to I don't know, Kiwi Farms.
I
or
never
source
played
something
Kiwi
from
Farms.
Kiwi Farms there. So I think when you're publishing things and putting it out there and you're ignoring contradictory evidence, to be really clear, I don't have any intention of suing anyone today. But one of the reasons I won my lawsuit against Alex Jones is I was aware of these standards and I tailored my public comments to meet those standards of defamation, which is why Alex Jones was not successful. So that's what I was saying.
I didn't source Kiwi Farms for any of this stuff. So
Okay.
That's okay. It's all on the web archive. It's all in various articles written online. I actually did cite that David Whitmer article you mentioned. I didn't remember his name, but I do actually have that article in there. I have actually read that article, so I'm perfectly aware of that.
Piece.
So
it contradicts other evidence that you're putting out there.
Well, oh yeah, what does it contradict?
If you're claiming that I claim to go to Ole Miss for a decade, that's not true.
You claimed it before that article came out. You claimed it before that article came out.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
I didn't
yeah.
go
The
to
time
Ole
you've
Miss
got
for a
these muddled.
decade. I moved
you've got the timeline muddled here. You were
moved
lying
to
about
Jackson.
having. Okay.
I went to Millsaps, I think, for a year,
Dude.
and then I worked on my startup, and then I moved to DC. So there it is.
Okay, you were claiming to have a degree before this article came out. So this article doesn't contradict any. That is true, because the degree.
Connor, can we keep going?
It was revealed. You're lying to me, Brianna, straight up, because you were outed as not having a degree in 2015. This was released in 2016.
Okay,
sorry, April 2015.
If you want to say that me as an internet anonymous person misspoke at some point, that's fine.
It's not just then. We established that. It was when you were public, in Gamergate. When you were public.
Extremely honest and direct with people about this. And I'm telling you right now, I did not successfully get my college degree.
I muted again.
I would hope that most people out there would understand that I had drug addiction at the time.
Look at this desperate plea for trauma.
The very last bit of it, which left me homeless, which was an incredibly stressful situation. You know, it's something I used to feel really guilty about. It honestly has not affected my life that much.
I think the play for trauma is very pathetic and manipulative and narcissistic.
I'm just telling you the truth of what happened.
It's a desperate manipulation tactic, because you've repeatedly lied to me in this conversation. When I've brought up specific instances, I brought up stop cutting me off. She cut me off.
Can we keep the show going, man?
Well, okay, but I want to point out this dynamic, because if we keep doing this, then it's going to be just as toxic as it is right now for the next hour.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I would borderline prefer Kuihman to kind of bring up his criticisms rather than us flowing through it, because now.
Okay, so we have. Okay, it's fine. We can move on. We can move past it.
Hold on. I just want to. Okay, so I want to point out the formulaic dynamic. Okay. So, the formulaic dynamic is I wrote down all the criticisms that were in the video.
I'm gonna snap.
Kuihman
I'm losing it.
Got a 20-minute head start by doing the video, right? So now we're going through it and we're responding to it, and then basically what's happening is so far we have two. If I was to summarize the points that we made so far, is that according to Kuihman, Brianna claimed to have a degree. Brianna is saying that she doesn't have a degree, but she does have a decent amount of credits in college. I don't think that's contested, at least. Then cybersecurity expert Brianna is saying that she used that as an accolade while going through Congress, because people in Congress are not particularly tech savvy, and she's been talking about tech and politics for the past decade. That's how I would summarize the Brianna point. And then Kuihman is saying, well, that's not enough, and on top of that, in a recent thing for somebody that you've allied yourself with, you kind of laughed at the fact that somebody with a master's degree isn't a expert. So that's kind of like the summary of the two perspectives so far, but we're not getting to the guts of it, I guess.
If we could get through like one back and forth without a factual inaccuracy from the other side, that would help. Okay, I've been muted again. Crazy. I haven't spoken in 10 minutes.
Connor, with the claims I was making on Stardust, most of what I liked about that video was the anti-Semitism. I don't think I publicly commented on the health expert thing.
She didn't comment on the video. She just approved the video.
I could understand why Frogan would say that. I
the other
thought Stardust had a good point with that, but it wasn't something I publicly commented on, just to be clear.
Okay, yeah, you didn't. You didn't comment on any specific part. You just said it was an amazing video and retweeted it. Yeah,
it was an amazing video.
That was making that attack, and you didn't.
The thing I found strongest was the anti-Semitism and really documenting that. To be clear.
Yeah, so this is okay. Go for it, Connor. Yeah, no, it's okay. No, it's counterfire. It's counterfire. You guys talk.
Well, I'm just gonna keep pointing out the dynamic over and over again. So how about you go? So maybe we can get into some meat.
Yeah, sure. Would you describe Total Biscuit as a transphobic, sexist leader of harassment, Brianna?
To be really honest, I had so much trauma during Gamergate. I've never seen Total Biscuit's work. I don't think I could make an assessment on that today. For a lot of Gamergate, and Connor can back me up on this, I've talked a lot about how I didn't handle many things very well. I'd handled them differently today. But I'm not familiar enough with his work to make that assessment. I think in the time he was a complete ass to me online, and certainly drove a lot of harassment my way. So I think I would say that.
I believe there was one tweet where he called you a worthless hypocrite, but you actually said last year, you said, when Total Biscuit died, I bit my tongue. I didn't want to say anything, but that's allowed people to whitewash a serious, horrific history of extreme harassment. That doesn't sound like someone who's just never seen the work. You're saying he has a legacy of extreme harassment.
That works exactly with what I just said. He drove a ton of harassment to my door.
With one tweet.
That's 100% true. I just said that.
With one tweet, saying you're a hypocrite.
No, he tweeted me a ton. I remember one tweet he sent said, "I'm absolutely done taking anything Brianna Wu says seriously." Like it was.
That's the same tweet I'm talking. That's the exact same tweet I'm talking about. That's the. I'm absolutely done. That's the exact same tweet I'm talking about. That's the one where Total Biscuit said, "I'm sick of pretending Brianna Wu is anything but a worthless fucking hypocrite." That's the exact.
Well, he did drive a ton of harassment to my door.
Okay, so that was a lie that you repeated up until last year. That was not true. He was because he was not a leader of harassment. He made one tweet calling you a hypocrite. That's a total mischaracterization.
He did a lot more than that. His audience.
Well, you haven't shown that.
I've already told you I didn't handle everything during Gamergate.
You've been asked for but you've been asked for evidence on this last year when you made that tweet. You were asked for evidence again, and you were refusing to give it. And you were saying that if you just don't get it, and you're denying the trauma. That's what you were saying.
No, I'm saying that his audience drove a lot of bullshit to my door. He also went after Zoe Quinn a ton, and I think
that's not true either. That's a lie.
From you know what? I'm talking my impression of things 10 years ago. I honestly don't remember the Total Biscuit stuff.
But do you understand there's a problem with your impression of things 10 years ago if you're repeating that now? I've let you talk for the whole time, you stupid.
Integrity. If you
please censor that.
4 seconds, I can't answer your questions. So
you're not answering you're not answering the questions. You're not doing that.
Connor, is there any worth to this, man?
Okay. So what I would say is the worth it from my perspective.
Is the content.
Is that I think that the commentary community can be abrasive, but they also can present us with facts. But I think that just because there are facts doesn't mean that these facts are mutually exclusive.
Sure.
So for instance, if I don't know Total Biscuit, right? I wasn't huge in the Gamergate days. But as an example, if we go back to Total Biscuit's history and we check out his tweet history and we see this, that, the other, where he's talking shit about the Gamergate girls and Anita Sarkeesian sucks.
Literally, he was exceedingly progressive for the time. He was exceedingly progressive, and he did interviews with the BBC where he was explicitly denouncing the harassment of Zoe Quinn and stating that nobody should be going after Zoe Quinn. They should be going after the journalists who'd made the reviews, if anyone. He said specifically, stay away from... What are you doing? Why are you going after Zoe Quinn? It's not her that's made an ethical violation. He was very clear, very specific with everything he said. And yet Brianna has continued until last year to mischaracterize this. It's not just that you said it during Gamergate and you've got this odd perception and you've moved on from then. No, you're repeating this and you are constantly trying to reiterate. You did it the year before as well, that his legacy was people harassing women in his name. You've constantly tried to smear this guy, both alive and dead.
Can I make my point now? And I don't want
to... now I've managed to speak for like 3 seconds at a time. Yeah, you can go, Brianna. I'm allowing that.
It's so childish. So you know, something that happened during Gamergate is I was traumatized. I legitimately cannot remember much of Total Biscuit. You could probably find
And stop talking about
articles where I've talked about my blurry memory from Gamergate. So if I'm misremembering this and I was unfair to him at the time, it would not surprise me at all. I would be the first person to admit it. My honest recollection, which I'm telling you truthfully right now, is that his audience was harassing me, but I was getting so many death threats in those days. Like, I doubt I could tell one end from the other. So it's entirely possible, to be honest with you.
You notice how every time you own up to something, it's, but, okay, I didn't get my degree, but I had a lot of trauma when I was homeless. Okay, that wasn't true about Total Biscuit, but I've got a lot of trauma. Do you notice how there's never an honest acceptance of accountability or the fact you fucked up and did something wrong? It's always, there's some other terrible thing going on in my life that is causing me to act this way, so no one can be mad at me about it. Like, you've
I didn't
actually...
say no one can be mad at me.
Okay, well then acknowledge, could you acknowledge the fact that you have done, you did insane damage to Total Biscuit's reputation off of no evidence. You had no evidence for the claims you were making, that he was a sexist, transphobic leader of harassment.
Can I ask you a question there, Kuihman? Because that, you know, we're talking about exaggerations of harm. Are you exaggerating harm there? Did Total Biscuit suffer any consequences as a result of journalists saying that he was transphobic or aggressive or harassing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember.
I'm asking.
I'm pretty sure I remember a bunch of shit going down the day. Like, there was, I mean, look, if you were involved in Gamergate, I would never deny this. Either side you're on, people were taking reputational damage, losing opportunities, bomb threats being called at speaking events. This was happening on both sides. So I would never deny anything like that. The point is that my issue is more that Total Biscuit had made one tweet about Brianna, and apparently he's a leader of harassment. Yet Brianna isn't a leader of harassment, even though she made essentially a campaign past this guy's death to continue spreading mistruths about him.
Now hold on. Let's be fair here. It is 100% accurate that I did not comment on his death when he died.
That's not. I don't believe that is true.
Hold on.
When was the date of that tweet?
Dude. I don't want to keep meeting you. Let me make my points, please. Can we please
act
like adults
Not if you're going to lie. Not if you're going to lie.
Even if you don't agree with my point of view.
It's not about not agreeing. It's about factual inaccuracies.
Okay? So what I was going to say is with Total Biscuit, this is my genuine reaction. When he died, his wife, what was her name? He had a wife that was grieving, and I was like, you know, I'm married. I would never, I can imagine like your spouse dying. I would not want to contribute to that. So I very, very deliberately for that entire time after he passed, just made the decision to say nothing. And I did not bring him up for years and years and years and years. In fact, I would bet a lot of money that if you're talking about, like, you put out a tweet the other day, was that a tweet I put out, or was I like responding to a question that someone asked me?
I know I didn't say the other day. I said it was about a year ago, but yeah,
okay,
sure.
But for that, I was probably responding to something. Like, I'm not trying to. And I bet a lot of money there. Maybe I'm mistaken.
You were quote tweeting Keffels. You were quote tweeting Keffels, who I believe was talking about someone who had recently died, because you were talking on the topic of talking about someone's crime when they died. I think you were just adding your own story. I don't think she was talking about Total Biscuit. I think you brought up Total Biscuit and decided to start saying this again.
But it had been, I mean, that was like, what, eight years after he died?
Yeah, does it make it less wrong?
Well, I'm trying to make you understand my thought process there. You can disagree with this assessment.
You still haven't really acknowledged the fact there was no basis for it.
Kuihman.
Why don't you take notes, Kuihman?
I mean, I can, but we're going to sit here and just go through fucking lies for 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, you're going to sit here for 60 seconds to 90 seconds, or else she's going to mute you, and then we're going to sit here for 60 to 90 seconds anyway. So why don't you just take notes and wait for her to be done?
That's right.
I'm cooking
so with this, what had happened for literally years with Total Biscuit is I've constantly gotten a drumbeat of criticism. That's really frustrated me for years. Because I don't remember if Zoe Quinn did this or not, but it was a lot of people around Gamergate, like a lot of social justice people. You see this, like they can be instinctively cruel, and they did. When he died, they completely celebrated. It was horrible to see, and I very deliberately did not participate in that. So what I'm telling you is it's been really frustrating for me. Like, you're talking about damaging reputations. I've had people accuse me of glorying in Total Biscuit's death for years and years and years, and not like one random tweet 8 years later. I'm talking like constantly. So it hurts my reputation, and frankly, it's beneath the standards that I hold myself to. So that's why I was saying that.
I don't know. You said he has a horrific history of extreme harassment. You weren't just saying, oh, you know, I think it's really important that we all just don't say bad things about someone when they die. That's not what you were saying. You were saying the opposite. You were saying this guy was a total piece of shit and I should have said it at the time.
So my memory, and I will completely agree with you, this could be flawed. Like you're drawing attention to something I'd assumed was true. But this is my truthful memory, is Total Biscuit and like Gamergate all unified around Total Biscuit kind of taking him as a paragon. And he seemed to me like his audience was really, really invested in harassing me. So, you know, that is honestly how I felt. If I did a deep dive on that today, I might come to a different conclusion, but it's honestly what I was thinking at the time.
Okay, so I mean, I would just like to acknowledge the fact that you came into this conversation talking about my research skills, but you have been repeating claims about someone for years with no research done. Interesting.
I'm telling you,
is that a fair characterization of the situation? If she said it,
yes.
Like, I mean, I post like, hold on, real quick, just because I post a half dozen tweets or a dozen tweets per day or whatever. So is one flippant tweet about like, I used to talk shit about this guy, I think this guy's an asshole or whatever. Now that he's dead, I felt uncomfortable about talking shit, but I still think he's a dick. Is that like a harassment campaign to smear Total Biscuit's memory?
It started while he was alive, right? It started when she was at panels. At some conference where she said Total Biscuit's one of the most toxic, transphobic, sexist harassers in gaming, or something to this effect, and then showed one of his tweets at a presentation about death threats, I believe, as well.
So I tell you what, like, I mean this in really good faith. If his widow wants to reach out and talk about this, I'd genuinely be interested to look at all those situations, and maybe I got it wrong back then. Yeah, I think that's fair. There's a lot of stuff. Like, let me tell you, I don't think she will mind me saying this story. Yeah, Shoe on Head is another person that I had a ton of conflict with during Gamergate. And I think it was about a year ago, she sent me a PM going, you know, basically, yeah, I'm really sorry about all the conflict we had. It got out of hand. And I said, oh, no, I've been meaning to do the same thing to you. It completely got out of hand. I'm sorry. And we've been friendly with each other ever since. Like, I would be extremely eager to mend bridges there if we could.
Well, it's great to hear that you've turned over a new leaf after a decade on that insane claim that you've been repeatedly saying.
I think you're
I'm stunned. I don't think I am whatsoever. That's okay.
So
the Eagle Nation, that's a good one. The
Actually,
Eagle Nation.
Can we go through Connor's list? Because that
we can go through. Absolutely, we can go through Connor's list. I think the Eagle Nation's on there, in fact.
All right. Even remember.
Give me a second to pull up my list, please.
You should, because it's in every appearance you've ever done, including the Sci-Fi Internet Ruined My Life show. It's the one where Jace Connors said he was going to street race you to death.
That guy, yeah.
Well, let's save that because that's actually one that I wouldn't mind pressing on a little bit. But so the next one that I had was claimed poverty during game making phase, but lived in Frank's uncle's house rent free, and parents were rich Republican donors.
That's from the that is from the Whitmer article. That is from the Whitmer article that you lived in Frank's uncle's house.
My parents helped pay for this.
No, that's not what anyone said. That's not what anyone said, actually, Brianna. If you want, just Connor, do you want to repeat that again?
That's what Connor, yeah.
You want me to read that again?
Yeah. Brianna obviously didn't hear it, so.
Okay, so the implication was that the specific quote that I remember was eating rice and beans a shitload in order to be able to make payroll.
I did.
And claimed poverty during the game making in order to eat rice and beans to make payroll, but you actually lived in Frank's uncle's house rent free.
That's right.
And parents were rich Republican donors.
That was about the upbringing specifically. These are two sort of different claims again.
Okay. I thought from Connor's comment they were related. So first of all, this is something that really upsets me when people act as though my parents have anything to do with my success. I've not talked to them, I believe, since God, when was the John Kerry election? Was that 2004? I think they disowned me around 2005. So it has been a really, really, really long time since I've talked to my parents. They've not helped me at all. And it really frustrates me when people like talk as though they may have anything to do with my success today. They didn't help buy my house. They certainly didn't help buy any of my cars. You know, they've abandoned me.
You recognize that's totally delusional to say that people who raised you for 20 years don't have anything to do with your success.
Frankly, hurt me a lot. Did I have the advantage of growing up with really well-off parents? 100%.
Oh yeah, so now
I think a really good example of this is me going to rehab. Yeah, I went to the PEP program, which was the same place that Tiger Woods went to for his sex addiction, even back in, what year was this? 2002, I think. Yeah, this was a $30,000 a month live at the hospital kind of place. That's insane privilege to be able to go there. But that doesn't mean I'm lying when I said there have been times in my life where I've really struggled with poverty. For my game studio, we were living in Frank's uncle's house rent free. The majority of everything Frank and I made was going to pay payroll. We paid Maria, we paid Amanda, we had to pay voice actors. Frank actually would get off of work because we couldn't afford a 3D modeler and did work all evening in Inventor Fusion. And then we came up with this weird pipeline to turn Inventor Fusion stuff into, from NURBS to polygonal models. So I'm not lying. That was a tremendously stressful, like, financial period of my life. Thank God it's so much better now.
Okay, so my issue with that is that it's in the presentation, right? Is that you'll present it as though you were super hard done by, but you actually had all of these advantages coming in from all around the outside that were set up for you, not by any work of your own, but by the circumstances of you and Frank's familial connections.
I think if you looked at my comments through Gamergate, there would be a lot of acknowledging privilege. I will tell you right now, I 100% acknowledge that. I've also had some really tough stuff happen in my life that has given me a ton of resilience. And, I was looking today, I've been sober for 21 years. That didn't happen serendipitously. That takes a lot of willpower to do that. And I'm very proud of that.
But no one's saying you can't be proud of things in your life. My point was more about the fact that you presented it as though it was like all self-made. You worked from scratch.
No,
it's not quite.
No,
quite.
I'm not. I would not present myself that way.
Sure, that's okay. That's a disagreement presentation. I'd agree. That's probably a weaker point for sure.
I mean, this is. I think this is something.
Well, hold on. That was almost a Kuihman concession.
Yeah.
I'll concede to the fact that it's all in framing. It's all in the framing, ultimately.
Something I would say is, looking at this time period of my life in retrospect, my parents really used their money to control me and to limit the things I was able to do in my life. And, it's not them disowning me was the most painful thing I ever went through. But if you look at my career, my life after that, I got married, I did a bunch of things I'm very proud of. And it's really when my life started. So I think people tend to think that those backgrounds are like idyllic, and it just wasn't the reality that I have.
Okay. Still with us? All right, cool. I'm kind of skipping the smaller ones because I think it's like framing. There was like clubbing with Chelsea Manning. I don't think we really need to get into that unless either one of you want to.
That was just about having the Washington connections. But yeah, sure.
Right. I didn't think that would make or break this conversation.
No, absolutely not.
So then Jesse Singal, I'll just be charitable to Kuihman and bring this one up. Brianna, allegedly, you criticized Jesse Singal for bad sourcing and thought that he was hypercritical of trans issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jesse Singal, in return, said, or wait, and then you also
please say
single.
Say single next time, please. I'm begging. Don't say single, please.
Single. So Jesse Singal And you also claim that Jesse Single tried to get you fired. Jesse Single's counterclaim is that he emailed Rebellion Pack, not realizing that it was you. He did not realize that Cenk Uygur was involved at the time. So he thought that your characterization that he was trying to get Cenk Uygur to fire you from Rebellion Pack was uncharitable, to say the least.
Sure. So I know this is going to sound Weasley, but it's the truth. I've gone back and forth a lot with Katie Herzog about this. There's a really strong appearance.
Really, brother? It's going to sound Weasley.
After,
Sorry, I muted myself.
My health issues this summer. And something I agreed to do there was just to calm the temperature down. I was going to not make further comments on that. I'm going to say I think it was a genuine misunderstanding. And I think when you see my appearance on that show, I think you'll see how I was acting in good faith about the information I had, and because of some of the ways the database was set up. And I realize now that Jesse was probably acting in good faith from the way he saw. The trick is I didn't understand that until I talked to Katie the other day via email. So just let us hash this out. It's going to be a future conversation.
Okay. Kuihman, you want to get any shots in before we go to the next one?
Was that you're talking to Jesse Single about this? Was that?
I think so. I expect to after the summer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, part of my point in that was that you hadn't confronted him on it. So if you're confronting him on it, it's great to hear. I'll be watching.
Gotta deal with my health stuff this summer. We'll get through it.
Then this is actually the one that I think I probably care about the most. This is a strong quote, so I'll accept if it was hyperbolic from Kuihman's side. However, saw everything Keffels was doing, approved of DIY HRT, and this is an implication. So
sorry,
if you don't
wait,
like
did
my
I
framing,
say
totally...
approved of DIY HRT? I don't think I made that specific claim. I don't think I've ever seen Brianna necessarily say outright, "I approve of DIY HRT." I don't think I've ever seen Brianna say that. I don't think I would say that.
I don't. You can see a lot of media of me saying the opposite.
Then, Kuihman, just so I'm not framing you incorrectly, can you maybe articulate your position for Brianna's participation in support of Keffels?
Yeah, sure. So Brianna was repeatedly confronted with numerous discrepancies, contradictions in Keffel's story, way she was using the money, statements she'd made about how she was using the money. Each time, Brianna had a deflecting response that either said something to the effect of, "I don't care, I don't feel scammed, use the money on cocaine if you want, ha 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 ha, isn't that so funny?" Or, yeah, it could be a joke, but generally, if I had an addict friend who was an addict in the public spotlight, me personally, I wouldn't say, feel free to...
We have the darkest sense of humor.
Yeah, I've known addicts, and I don't generally joke about being like, "Oh, why don't you have a drink? Why don't you have a drink?" That's not generally the sort of joke I make to addicts, no.
I can say, well, that's fine.
And it's certainly not the sort of joke I would make if someone was accused of scamming $100,000 for their addiction either.
So this is, did you see my tweet the other day of basically saying, I've had enough, fuck Keffels. So this is, again, you can view this charitably or you can view this non-charitably. I got into this when I did Beckett's podcast the other day. I see a lot
Mantis, we're not friends.
In the sense that, you're a really young person. She's trying to make her way in the world, dealing with addiction, the whole Kiwi Farms thing. I really saw myself in her, and I tried to be the very best friend as I could to her through all of this. And I will fully admit I have probably looked the other way for too long on this. This is a friendship I should have let lapse a long time ago. I'm a pretty loyal person, and I tend to stick by my friends. But in this case, it was a mistaken judgment. I've never defended HRT. For minors being given without a prescription, and I would just say, I don't know. I mean, is it hard for you to understand, like, sticking by someone you considered a friend?
I think you should have a bit more due diligence in the stuff you're saying if you're making those claims in public when there's huge allegations flying around. Yeah, I do think that's a problem, actually. In fact, that's what Tipster has been screwed on for the last year, actually, is basically that, jumping in to defend friends that don't deserve it when they're doing horrible actions. Like, I mean, you were literally saying stuff like, If you're going after Keffals, you're a useful idiot. You need to stop talking about this. This is just furthering a harassment campaign of a trans woman. That's what you were telling people when they were bringing up concerns with the GoFundMe.
Which context was that in? Which drama scandal was going on at the moment?
I believe that was off the Destiny manifesto.
Was I trying to patch things up with Destiny by then?
I don't think that. I think that would be a huge indictment on your character if you said the reason why I was the reason why I was deflected from Keffals is because I was not trying to patch things up with Destiny yet.
No. I'm trying to understand the time period of what was going on there. So if it was right,
it would have been within a year. Correct me. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Destiny Manifesto on Keffals was probably like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then I feel like PB was last year. So that would have been. I feel like that would have been probably 6 months before attempting to get that bridge rebuilt.
So this is my understanding, or at least my recollection, that when the Destiny Manifesto came out, I was quoted, I think 3 times in it, and it was all sourcing a bunch of Kiwi Farm stuff. I don't think I've ever talked about this, but like the story of Chloe Segal, this really tragic story of a trans woman that set herself on fire, like y'all don't even know the truth of that. It is so much darker than what people even know there. Like it was a slow motion breakdown for years with her burning every single friendship and bridge that she had. So I don't know. I think in the moment immediately after watching that, I did feel like Keffals was getting unfairly piled on. And I think, as I'm telling you right now, I think that was an error in judgment. I should not have run cover for Keffals as long as I did with my reputation.
Okay, yeah, I'm just acknowledging the fact that your reasoning here isn't about the evidence or honest engagement with what was going on. It's all to do with your associations and who you're friends with.
No, that's not it at all. I've seen the way that people can create a narrative about you that just takes these facts and it arrives at a conclusion, and it just like puts all of it point by point by point by point, and it distorts your reputation. I know about this firsthand through Gamergate. Was Keffals still trying to keep Kiwi Farms offline at that point? Because that's probably what I was thinking at the time. That was an effort to undermine that work that at the moment I thought was good.
Sure, but it doesn't seem like you had a very informed opinion on Kiwi Farms either, because you only found out that they disallowed death threats and coordinated harassment the other day when you were speaking to Mutahar.
I mean, I'm sure they have a pretext for that. I'm not sure how effective that is.
Well, I mean, what do you mean how effective it is? It's about what's allowed on the site. I mean, users on a site can do anything. Users on Twitter do crazy stuff every day, but it's about what the rules of the site are.
I think this really comes down to pretext and subtext. So Destiny is a really good example. The way that he runs DGG, I've always felt that DGG gets an unfair reputation for being harassment central, because so much of the culture there is built around really trying to tamp that stuff down. Like the subreddit has that rule that drama is done in 3 days. They do downvote transphobia if something's really sexist or over the line. Even stuff I personally would allow, like there was that picture of Lav without makeup. They took that down just because they thought it was the best thing to do. I think Destiny is really proactive in trying to set a culture for DGG that lowers this level of harassment for people. In my estimation, I don't think Kiwi Farms really does stuff of that level, as this was probably my same assessment of Total Biscuit at the time. So I think if you're going to grow a community to a certain extent, you have a responsibility about how they behave. And I agree with Destiny's assessment that it's not true that you can't control things that they do. I think you actually can to some degree.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying that, but the point is that you've signed on to an attack that was the point of the attack was to remove Cloudflare protection.
I'm sorry, which attack? Just so
drop Kiwi Farms. Drop Kiwi Farms.
Yeah.
The point of that attack is to remove Cloudflare protection so that people can commit crimes against them. And your reason for agreeing with that is site culture, not because of any specific action or rule, but just site culture.
I think that this is the part of the story that you're missing. There have been so many efforts behind the scenes to take down kiwi farms for years, and not just
That's
by
bad.
me.
That's a bad thing. I
Can I
disagree with
finish my
that.
point, please? You can disagree, but I'm explaining to you what my thought process was. There were efforts for years. Hold on one second. To take down kiwi farms. There was one extremely famous celebrity at one point that actually tried to get me to join onto a mega lawsuit that he was going to file. I said no and opted out of that. I don't know where that went, just because I didn't want more heat from it. But my thinking there is that kiwi farms, I think it is a hardcore doxing site. And I think that you should meet the same level of defamation and libel laws that like a journalist site should have to do. So I did support that at the time.
Well, you can sue someone for posting something that's a defamatory.
It's really, really hard to get their IP address and hunt them down.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that you can then just start taking sites down because of the actions of a user. That's against free speech.
So I think if you you can look this up. I've given 100 interviews saying this about a way that my opinion has changed, and I'll repeat it here for you. So one of the things that really, I'm sorry, changed my opinion on if this, for lack of a word, illiberalism is working was Elon Musk buying Twitter. If you made a list of the people that helped Twitter set their dead naming is bannable policy, I would be on that list. I championed this for years. I helped them get the research together. I worked with the trust and safety team to basically set that policy. We worked on a lot of international angles for it to make it fair. And at the time, I was really proud of doing that. What I can see in hindsight today is there's something about not being able to dead name people that drives conservatives and transphobes really crazy in a way that literally led Elon Musk to buy
Guys, that
Twitter
is not permission to you. That is not permission. Guys, that is not permission.
Is way worse for trans people. So I'm looking at the totality of where the progressive left has gone as far as on free speech. I think you can look at my public comments recently. I think it's gone too far. I think it's illiberal. The entire reason I started this show with Connor is I think we need to return to being able to talk about ideas with each other. So I'm not sure today, if you asked me, if I would support drop kiwi farms.
After your response, can I interject, Kuihman?
Please.
I don't know if I have another response. Go for it.
Okay,
I've got other stuff to bring up. Go for it.
I have a question right there because I have an internal narrative and I have a perception of Brianna. I would say this really kicked into high gear since October 7th, but it seems like Brianna has experienced some things over the past couple of years that made her frustrated is the muted word of it, frustrated with the far left. So when she says, hey, I was proud to work with the progressives in order to shut down this form of what I viewed as hate speech at the time. However, what ended up happening was it put so much pressure on conservatives and basically people who don't like trans people. It ended up backfiring. As a result, the internet has become a worse place, almost indirectly or consequentially as a result of the work that I used to do in the past. I think that I am better served by having conversations with other people about trans issues that kind of puts my community in a better light. I kind of see someone shifting from the far left to the center. So do you see that, or do you think that's not genuine?
No, I don't think it's genuine at all. Again, Brianna even here is like completely dodged every opportunity, like trying to backtracking some of these claims. Like the Total Biscuit stuff is just crazy. The amount of the amount of waffling on that was nuts. We still haven't gotten to Deagle Nation, which I would love to, because I like that you pretended that you didn't know what that was, but you absolutely do. That it's delusional to pretend otherwise.
Is this the person that got into a car accident? You guys just want to knock that out real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so this has been your flagship example for years.
Flagship?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This was a weekend story, dude.
No, this was on your sci-fi episode, The Internet Ruined My Life. This was used in your Congress ad.
Do you think I Like, come on, man.
You described it in that episode. You described that car crash video as the scariest moment of your life.
It was terrifying when it happened. I was really terrified by that.
That seems quite unlikely, but regardless,
I 100% thought it was 100% real at the time. It really scared me. And something you may not know is he had been sending me explicit death threat after explicit death threat and after explicit death threat. Evidence that this person is mentally unstable is that they are a ward of the state, as I understand it, in, isn't it New Hampshire? Which is why prosecutors couldn't prosecute him for any of this, because he's not legally responsible for any of his actions.
I
That's
don't.
my recollection.
I don't believe that to be true at all. Actually,
well, that's what they told me.
I believe that the 176-page Gamergate Files FBI report that was released actually said that they didn't prosecute because they immediately realized it was a joke upon speaking to him.
Well, hold on. You're assuming the FBI was the people that were prosecuting that, because
no, they said they took it. They said
hold on. No, you're mistaken here. I'm talking about the Boston. There are multiple levels of law enforcement that I worked with during.
He's also not a ward of the state. He's in World Peace 2 with Sam Hyde. That's coming out soon.
Can I finish what I'm saying? There are multiple levels of law enforcement that I worked with. It was Arlington PD. Then from there, that got bumped up to the prosecutors here in Massachusetts, local prosecutors, and then there was the FBI. Just because the FBI was saying one thing does not mean that's what another law enforcement agency was thinking.
They didn't prosecute because they realized it was a joke. This is all in the 176-page report that came out.
I may have come to that conclusion, but I'm telling you,
I believe it was discussed with the prosecutor. I'm pretty sure that's in
accurately what local Massachusetts prosecutors told me that don't work for the FBI.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they discussed it with prosecutors. That's in the FBI report.
Why would you assume that?
Because I read the article like yesterday. I'm pretty sure it's in the report that they discussed it with the prosecutors, and they didn't prosecute because it was a joke. It's nothing to do with them being a ward of the state or being an actual risk.
Are we potentially talking about two different people?
I don't know. There's no chance talking about two different people. It's the car crash video, and he also did the one where he said he was going to exact elite justice on your soul. It's the same guy. You spoke about him many times.
Legitimately scared
me. So Kuihman, just out of curiosity here, like, if you're having schizospergs enter into your DMs and saying wild shit, like, are we supposed to presume that, you know, all of that is a joke?
No, what I would say is that everyone gets death threats online once they're above a certain level. It's about whether death threats are credible. Now, if you looked at those death threats, they absolutely were not credible at any point because it was a very obvious skit. Most people knew it was a skit. There were BuzzFeed articles very shortly after it came out saying it was a skit. Brianna continued to use it as an example of harassment.
Articles
saying it was a skit. There was also a sci-fi episode taking it very seriously. I'm aware there were some places taking it seriously, Brianna. I don't think anyone engaging seriously actually thought it was a real threat. It's on the level. It's on the level of sort of like when Sam, because I mean this guy's $1 Million Extreme. He is associated with Sam Hyde. It's sort of like when Sam Hyde got up and said, "I'm going to kill Hassan Piker in his home." Like no one saw it as a credible threat.
Hold on.
Can I just say something here, Connor?
Yeah, and I want to push back on that real quick, but yeah, go ahead.
You're assuming at the time I knew he was associated with Sam Hyde.
I'm not assuming that at all. I'm saying that the comedy style is similar.
Dude, I don't want to mute you. Can I just finish?
I'm just correcting your interpretation. That's fine.
You are assuming that I understood that at the time. This is what happened according to what I remember about what happened. There was a crazy person that sent me so much stuff, death threats constantly via DM. There's a person here in Massachusetts. I don't want to dead name them because they've transitioned, but he actually worked through this person to get messages to me and hype them up. So I was getting death threat. I've got guns. And then that video came to me. It did legitimately scare me at the time. I think today I would probably see that a little bit more clearly, but legitimately at the time, I was getting so many death threats constantly, rape threats. I don't know if you've read the story about what happened when my dog died and how Gamergate reacted. I had nut jobs talk about how they were going to go through every room in my house, diagramming the shootings that they were going to plan. So, like, I would just ask for a little bit of charity that my like defenses were set to so high, I could not make the same analysis someone on the outside could make.
Yeah, I could even maybe grant you it in the moment. However, the thing is that very shortly after the threats, it was revealed in the public very broadly by both the FBI report and BuzzFeed News reporting. Lots of places were saying it was a joke.
FBI happened years after that.
Yeah, FBI report was in 2017. Yeah, but BuzzFeed articles date back to 2015. If I could just finish, Connor. And you continued with this story. This has been your flagship example at every turn, even in your Congress ad, which is long past when all of this has happened. Yet you never mention that it's a joke. You never clarify that part. It's always just there was this terrifying video of these people in skull masks in a crashed car.
It was. There was also another.
Yeah, but you neglect to mention the fact that wasn't a credible threat in any way.
You're missing a key point. The person with the skull mask was a completely different.
That was Tice. They were part of the same group. It was Tice, Eli, and Jace. Yeah.
Well, hold on. So are we expecting? So sorry, sweep time. So we're expecting Brianna to like specifically research each individual schizo who's going after her.
No,
and try to,
not
like,
at all.
them out?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm making it clear that this was all associated. They did make it clear they were associated in their videos. They called themselves Deagle Nation and were doing Operation Wu Apocalypse. So they did associate themselves in their videos. It's not.
Okay, I would like to interject at least part of my perspective, because I actually consider myself a fan of Sam Hyde, at least in reference to some of his work. And yet, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Sam Hyde do PEDs in order to get in shape enough in order to go box? Didn't he absolutely fuck up his opponent in that boxing ring? Wouldn't it probably be something that Sam Hyde would likely do, is show up in Los Angeles in order to hang out at places that Hassan Piker hangs out at? Wouldn't it absolutely be the kind of shit that he would do, where he would pretend to be schizo and like?
Wait, honestly, so are you arguing it's a credible death threat? Are you saying it's a credible death threat? You think that was a credible death threat that Sam Hyde made? Is that your argument right now?
See, I feel like we're at post-irony.
Okay,
here.
right.
Like,
okay,
like
this
we
is just.
sorry,
clearly, I came in being accused of being autistic, but I'm not so sure that I'm the autistic one.
No, hold on. Tell me that it wouldn't be the ultimate post-ironic joke for him to actually do it.
I mean, would I laugh if Sam Hyde killed Hassan Piker? Yeah.
I mean, I would, but well, okay. So here we go. So that's kind of the point, is that like you hit levels of like meta irony or post irony that nobody knows what the fuck is going on anymore. It's like Dreg or Sam Hyde or any of that shit.
Okay, it's not he's not actually going to kill Hassan Piker. Nobody actually thought he was going to kill Hassan Piker. Nobody actually think that's going to happen. Hassan doesn't think that's going to happen.
Maybe I just dreamed about it. But anyways, the point being that like expecting somebody who's under that pressure to be able to differentiate between threats and humor, I think is an unrealistic expectation. You can say I can even fact, on a prolonged timeline.
Yes. Okay, I was about to say that. Go for it.
Oh no! I mean, if you're saying after the fact on a prolonged timeline,
I'm saying
there should be enough time
I don't believe that Brianna genuinely thought it was threats. Personally, me personally. However, I can even concede that and then say, okay, but still, you presented the situation after the fact when this was broadly known and never mentioned the fact it was a joke. I don't think I've ever heard Brianna reference that.
Can you concede that there are enough like creepy pieces of shit that it might all become an amalgamation of like one general trend of people?
Because Brianna specifically cites Brianna specifically cites that incident a lot and has done a lot.
Isn't it the most? And isn't it also the most like visceral? Skull masks, knives, personal threats.
It's the funniest.
To have driven to the location,
yeah, but you don't get to, in Brianna's Congress ad, she says that this was behavior so criminal that the FBI got involved and then flashed up images of that situation. Yes. If you allow me to finish,
Sure.
You flashed up images of that situation. So if you're saying, okay, the FBI realized it was a joke and chose not to prosecute. Sorry, the FBI did choose not to prosecute because they knew it was a joke. The FBI and the prosecutors chose not to go through with it. That did happen. If you don't bring that up when you're accusing someone of
handy, by the way, I
can send you the articles on the FBI report. Yeah, sure.
Can you just send me, because I would just be curious about the verbiage.
Yeah. So, fuck. What was I saying just now? If you accuse someone of criminal behavior and neglect to mention the fact that when it was investigated, they immediately realized it was a joke. Yeah, I would say that's tantamount to a lie.
I don't think it was not funny.
That's part of the reason
they were hilarious videos, but that's okay.
Okay. So I think you already mentioned this, but it's my next point. So I just want to make sure that we say it out loud. So I give you permission to do cocaine. That tweet. we're all acknowledging that that's a joke, right?
It's in humor, but the point of it is to deflect from scam allegations.
It can be in poor taste. It can be
no. You're missing.
Sure.
The employment of that joke is to deflect from allegations of her misusing the money.
See, this is the bad faith that I'm talking about.
That's not
dude.
bad faith.
This
remotely.
is. Hold on. Can I finish? Like, a hand to God, this is dark addict from like humor from one addict to another. That's all it is. That's all it is. That
changes when
there's
allegations
this is the mistake
scam.
that you people make. You come to a conclusion and you look for evidence that supports that conclusion constantly. And it's like everything I do as a public figure is viewed through this lens, like Brianna Wu is a terrible person or a liar. I think there's actually a lot of evidence of people that know me and work with me that would tell you I'm somebody that has integrity, that I like tell the truth, that I'm a thoughtful person, I'm a kind person. Like, there are a lot of people that would have my back on that, but y'all take everything and run it through this filter. So a joke tweet to a fellow addict becomes magnified to me like running cover for a campaign. It's just crazy, man.
Well, you were running cover because there was scam allegations going on, and your response to those allegations was to say, I give you permission to spend all the money on cocaine.
I'm telling you, it was a joke.
I don't care if it's a joke. It's your response to people accusing.
I don't care if you care.
Okay,
I can tell
I'm making my
friends.
point. People, okay, you're making it in public. First of all, it's a public statement. And if you're going to make a public statement, I'm allowed to criticize it. And if people agree with me, then that's the way it goes.
Sure. But
I'm raising my point to you.
It's a game of seesaw where you don't show your face. You just attack people. It's
my face is out there on the internet. I'm just not on camera right now.
It's a really lazy game to play.
Can I actually read this? Because this is where I feel like we're looking at the same problem and we're coming to different conclusions, but I actually feel like it reinforces borderline both of your perspectives. So can I just read this? Out loud on stream?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm actually going to read this. Some of it I think is okay, but all right, anyways. The day before Halloween, FBI agents showed up to a home of a Massachusetts man linked to to dozens of rape, bomb, and death threats targeting women involved in the video game scene. They believed he was a supporter of Gamergate, the militant online movement that wants to end feminist criticism of video games. The man, whose name was kept confidential by the FBI, confessed. He told the agents that he was a tech guy, a qualified A++
I don't know
coder.
if that's the right story. There's a couple of different stories in the article, I think.
Well,
because this is about the
if
FBI
you don't mind,
sorry.
If you say that this is colored, but sorry,
I think there are different incidents. There are different incidents that are in
this one has the document talking about why the FBI let them go. So your information is reinforced in another paragraph. So if you don't mind humoring me,
yeah, go for it. I'm not sure that's the right thing. Go for it. Yeah, speak your thing.
Okay. Who played video games a lot and lived with his parents, according to a set of documents for the FBI released on its investigation into Gamergate. He told the agents that he hung out on 4chan, the notorious online image posting board that, according to the FBI documents, has a history of hostile... we can skip that. He admitted that he had mocked the women who were targets of Gamergate's threats on 4chan, calling one of them a professional victim who exaggerated the threats. Then the agents showed him one of the threatening emails. The man said he had created a new email account specifically for the purpose of sending threats to Gamergate's targets. He admitted to sending the threatening email, understood that the email looked really bad. Crucially, he also confessed that he knew it was a crime. The man understood that it was a federal crime to send a threatening communication to anyone and will never do it again, the FBI wrote. So, despite this is where we get into your point.
I think that was the right
This is where we get to your point. Yet, despite all that, an email trail, a confession, and an admission from the suspect, he knew he was breaking the law. The FBI let him go after the suspect said it was a joke. So basically, then it's that summary, which I can read if you want. But basically what happened was the FBI, they didn't say that the guy didn't commit a crime. They referred it to the Boston State's Attorney's Office, and the Boston State's Attorney's Office declined to prosecute. But I'll tell you, like, this is one of the problems with cyber stalking and cyber harassment, is because it's a pain in the ass, and because they're dealing with like murders and all that kind of shit and drug dealing. State police oftentimes are not going to enforce a cyber stalking statute. So for me, if the FBI is saying like we have a half dozen, or we have 4 people at least that we interviewed who send death and rape threats, but then they said, lol, it was a joke, and then they didn't want to waste their time on it, so they sent it to the state's attorney's office, and the state's attorney's office said they didn't want to waste their time on it. That doesn't really do anything to diminish Brianna's perception of the event.
Okay, I don't think anyone was quite I don't think I was saying that Brianna's perception of the event is determined by the FBI's. What I'm saying is that I think that there's no way a reasonable person would come to the conclusion that those threats are credible. And that the FBI also came to that conclusion because
I mean, I want to joke right now, and I want to create like half a dozen accounts and just start sending you fucking death threats and rape threats, and maybe I'll visit the UK sometime. But like that's like, but obviously the whole thing is like we know each other, we're fucking around, we're bantering, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't have that context and it's randos on the fucking internet.
Okay, Connor, I would advise you at least watch the videos and then maybe make the statement, but sure.
I mean, I watched your video.
There's also the additional context of all the stuff that happened that you don't have access to. The stuff that happened behind the scenes, the videos they were sending me, the death threats. I can see clearly now that they were trying to amp me up and make me very reactive so they could get this kind of reaction, but it doesn't that doesn't erase all the events before it. I'm telling you the truth when I said this scared me. There was my gym, what was it? It was Planet Fit, it was Gold's gym. This was in Arlington, and the first person.
Sorry, I have to interrupt because we're circling on this one point. We've been circling for like 10 minutes on this one point, which is just.
I'm going to finish my point because this is really clear.
Holy fuck!
Write it down, Kuihman.
Yeah, write it down, buddy. So when I got sent this video, my first reaction was actually to call the Arlington PD. Was it the Arlington PD? No, it was someone in the state prosecutor's office. That was my literal first reaction to send it to them because I was so fucking scared about that. So I feel like there's this interpretation here. Like I couldn't possibly have trauma from all this stuff.
I bet you spent half his time muted.
My perception of stuff.
Kuihman, did you write it down? Go.
Well, I don't have anything to say. I was just going to say, let's move on past this, because if you're just going to keep saying, no, I really was scared. I really was scared. It's like you're not convincing me.
There's a point I want to come to, because this really reinforces what I'm talking about here, where there's a bad faith lens.
There's no bad
assumption.
faith. That's fine.
There is bad faith.
I think lying is the ultimate bad faith move, and that's happened a few times in this conversation.
I would really prefer to act like adults. There's an assumption here that there is like hiding facts or being dishonest. So Connor, one of the things you said was in the video, this is from your list of stuff, Jesse Gender DMs. I agree with your goal, all of it. What I don't do is sell the radical part, right? That is in this video. So basically what Kuihman is alleging here, I would assume, is that basically I am for minors getting HRT without permission. Kuihman, is that what you basically meant in that part?
No, that's not what I meant. I meant that
okay, what did you mean?
I'm not sure. Your wording is vague there. I don't know what your specific beliefs.
I'm just asking what you meant.
Yeah, sure. I'm explaining. Your wording is vague, so I can't
show you what was there right before it.
Are you okay for me to just finish what I'm saying? Your wording is vague there, so I'm not entirely sure to what level you're radical in private versus public. My point was showing that you're willing to say you're willing to make arguments that you don't necessarily believe, but you think they will achieve an end. That's the point that I'm.
Connor, is that the context of it there? Is that how he was presenting it?
It's in my section about trans
basically, the way that I would phrase it is quote unquote hiding your power level. That's the way that I would. That's the way I would phrase it.
So let's, Connor, I DM this to you. Can you put this up on screen? This is what I was actually talking to Jesse about. It's a lot
for the sake of not interrupting the screen. I don't want to screw up the Streamlabs, but basically I see the Jesse Gender DMs. I see both of you interacting. I can verify that it's true. And
so
I can.
What I'm saying here, look at what I'm talking about. Jesse is making an allegation here. And she's saying your views lead to harm for non-binary and non-medicating trans folks, not to mention stuff from Israel. And then what I'm replying to in Jesse Gender's DM is, look, this is what you don't get. I agree with your goal, all of it, meaning dignity for non-binary people and people that don't want to medically transition. I don't think they should be dehumanized. This is actually a very common accusation that's made against me, that I don't care about non-binary people. So, you know, this is what we're talking about there. Y'all took this in bad faith or making it sound like I've got radical politics behind the scenes.
You do.
No, I'm responding to something completely different.
That doesn't make a lot, but you engage in that same dehumanization of non-binary people, don't you?
Okay, now we're moving the flag, the goalpost. You know,
no, I'm okay with this because this is a bullet point. So, okay, so I'll say that looking at the DM, the prior DM or whatever, the term is trans liberation. That's what they're talking about. So basically, they're saying they share the goal of trans liberation. And then this was another bullet point from the video, was that Brianna is a hypocrite for sweeping for trans people, but criticizes non-binary people in DMs and shit talks them in DMs. So, Kuihman, you seem eager to talk about that.
Well, yeah, I just think that would be a strange thing for you to be saying, given that even in private, you're not. It's not just that you're in public. You're saying, oh, we don't need to crusade for non-binary people and other kin and whatever else. You're saying in private. You're saying if you want to be treated like a woman, maybe don't look like a transvestite. That's what you're saying to people in private. So that seems odd to me.
I made some really mean comments about someone with some friends, and I've apologized for that. I imagine if I looked at your DM, I'd probably find some mean comments.
Oh yeah, I say some heinous stuff, but I would never claim otherwise, and I would certainly never apologize for it and then get caught doing it again a month later. That's a key part as well, isn't it? And then you started threatening Ollie, the Omnipooner. As well in DMs.
Oh God. Okay. This is another example of the bad faith. This is a perfect example. So with this nut job who has done nothing but stalk me for months now and obsess about this, what do I say to him?
What does stalking mean? Can I just ask?
Hold on. No,
I would like you to be specific about that. I would like you to be very specific with that accusation, please.
We are going to go, and I'm going to make my point, and you can listen to it like a big boy. So, if
listen to this effortry, man. Listen to this effortry. What a nasty little bitch.
Was Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. So there's a moment, I don't know, Connor, you may know this. Is it on Snoop Dogg's album or is it Dre Day where Snoop goes, blah, 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 we can handle this like gentlemen or we can get into some gangster shit. And that's what I was quoting right there. Should I have thought about that for more than half a second, that someone that is not in their 40s is going to understand a Dr. Dre reference? Probably, but I think most people my age would understand that. Can I understand how you perceive it as a threat? Maybe, if you want to do that. But I was quoting Dr. Dre. I don't threaten people in private. I don't even know who this dude is, hardly. I don't give a shit about him. I've muted him and blocked him, and we have just he's a joke. It is sad the degree to which he's obsessed with this.
So would you refer to that threat as an obvious joke that no reasonable person would see as credible?
I think that I would say, I think I said the opposite, where I can understand why someone would think that that was not the best said. And
that's think, not quite what we were talking about. Dude, not the best said. It was about whether it was a threat. So you keep reframing. It's crazy.
You're gonna be brave here.
Also, I've been interrupted so many times. I've been interrupted so many times.
If you look at his DMs later, you will say that I'm sorry if that made you feel uncomfortable. I think I said that to him directly. I'll say it to him again here on the show. I was pissed off at the time. I was quoting Dr. Dre, and obviously the reference was lost on him. But I think the goal here with what is his name, Pooner or whatever, it's not to it's to dig up dirt and to do exactly what you're doing, which is a smear job for social media attention. It's not a good faith exercise here. He's looking for clout, and it's very obvious.
But I'm not lying though. But you've said several mistruths at least in this conversation. I don't think I've had any.
I'm not lying, man.
You got the details wrong at least. Like I said, at least they were mistruths you were speaking, that you've been speaking for several years.
Okay.
It just seems weird to be accused of being bad faith after you've been, not telling the truth.
I think that there's no one that can survive this format. You know, if you comb through everything someone has ever said publicly, especially someone that makes as much media as I do and is addicted to Twitter, it's really frustrating because, like, this inevitably comes up. You could do this with anyone, point them out to be a liar or a hypocrite. It's just like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a normal person. I try to speak to stuff as accurately and fairly as I can. I change my mind on things. I try to be truthful in how I represent myself. Yeah, I occasionally get stuff wrong. I mean, this should not surprise you.
No, it doesn't surprise me.
So, all right, I feel like we should back up, hit 2 points, and then honestly, I think we're probably going to hit at least the last point that I noted. There were other ones, but I don't feel like they're as relevant. This is kind of checking a box. What was the point of the DIY HRT and Bob posting pink pilling and bank robbing? I have an inference, but I'm not going to share it. If you could do it, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, the reason why I like that Mutar segment is because it shows how ubiquitous and constant the posting about this was from Keffals and Bob posting. You couldn't have avoided Bob posting and Keffals rambling about pink pilling miners. You really couldn't have. They were doing it constantly. So I just don't know how I'm supposed to believe that Brianna has all of a sudden come to this realization that, oh, this is really bad and we should call it out. That's just very odd.
I have no idea who Bob posting was before that video. I've never seen Keffals talk about this stuff to my recollection.
So did you? Sorry, I just ask. Did you ever look at the Destiny Manifesto?
Yeah, I watched it 3 times.
She's gone over extensively in that manifesto, I believe.
Yeah,
with the bank robbing or the pink pilling?
No, not the bank robbing. The pink pill, the Bob posting stuff.
The pink pilling stuff. But your statement was I had to have seen her talking about that stuff, right? And
you just no. My issue there was that you just told me you had no idea who she was, but now you've said you have seen the Destiny Manifesto and you know that she was.
I'm telling you, Bob posting, I had not understood that and put those links together until I was talking to Mutahar the other day. I watch a ton of YouTube content, man.
So,
look, the bottom line is you're trying to point out this hypocrisy where, like, I'm supposedly like supporting HRT for minors, and I just don't.
I'm not saying you're supporting it. I'm saying that it was a warning sign that took you off of Keffals. I'm saying you're misrepresenting me. I have to stop you from misrepresenting me.
Like an adult, man.
If you're going to just misrepresent me and lie,
you could literally, if you're doing a good faith analysis, trying to find out does Brianna support HRT for minors. You could go look at my public statements on this over years, and you would find example after example after example of me not doing this. I have not supported DIY hormones for a really, really, really long time. So it's like you go to look for this evidence that reaches the conclusion that Brianna Wu is a hypocrite or a liar, and you ignore all these public statements. And it's fundamentally not an exercise in honesty.
Okay, I can say I'm against murder, but then if one of my friends kills someone and I keep helping them get jobs and connections, you would probably say that, like, I'm being permissive of that person killing someone, right?
So the stuff in the Destiny Manifesto, as I remember it, I remember watching it and give me some goodwill here because I'm trying to remember a video that came out 2 years ago. But I remember thinking at the time that I didn't think it was that conclusive, or I didn't feel like it was the strongest argument for many reasons. The biggest one being I didn't think that Destiny drew the line between the stuff that was happening on whatever that site was and Keffals herself. And I remember, like, the connection seemed to me that Keffals wrote a check to basically keep a website in business, and Destiny was attributing everything that happened on that website to Keffals, like, personally cheerleading it. And as someone who has funded a lot of different things over my career, I just don't look at everything that granular. So I didn't find it compelling. What I did find about the Mutahar video is he drew the lines, and then he's drawing the lines with people I know, like Maya. So it was a much stronger case. So I evaluated that in different terms there. And if you look at the Beckett video, you can see me saying over and over and over again, I do not support that with Keffels.
Yeah, so just a couple of things there. First of all, those lines were drawn, aside from the Maya thing, which I'll get back to in a second.
Sure.
The lines were drawn by Destiny. Keffels had a banner ad on her site for a very long time that was for DIY HRT, and they had a bot command in chat that would spam out adverts for DIY HRT. And it was widely known that there was a partnership, not just a check, but a partnership between Keffels and the DIY HRT stuff. The Maya thing, it's weird that you bring that up and say that's why you changed your mind, because the other day you were saying that was the weakest part of Mutahar's video and that you shouldn't take the things that Maya was posting seriously. So now that seems odd to me that there's been
No, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking, Mutahar was talking in his video about, I was giving a critique about the culture of how he's taking everything. It's actually very similar to the Keffels like addiction thing, where like this dry comment between people is interpreted as like deadly serious, and it's just wry humor between friends. The thing I'm telling you with Maya is when I rewatched that video after that appearance and looked at what Maya had said about her levels being off, and then she went to a doctor later, that because it's someone I know, I can judge that and go, okay, I know Maya. She's probably telling the truth here. This is not some anonymous account here. This is really credible. So does that make sense to you that I had a different assessment there because of it?
Not really, no. I mean, the evidence was always there. The Maya stuff, I can understand. Maybe you're like, oh, it personally affected someone I know, so now I care. But the evidence, as far as...
It's a credibility issue. It's not that I care. It's
I don't know what the credibility is. The evidence was there. It was laid out clearly. I'm not...
The difference here, because there's all kinds of anonymous users on the internet, and I can't always take those claims seriously. But if Mutahar is putting something in the video of someone taking sites from, what is it called? Something labs, and their levels aren't right, and it's someone I actually know, that gives me a different assessment of the credibility of those claims.
Yeah, Otokonoko Pharmaceutical. That was covered in Destiny's manifesto as well. I'm really not seeing what the evidence is that Moot presented you already, but that's okay.
My assessment would be that the first time that you saw like Destiny's manifesto or whatever, I don't think you were trying to rebuild the bridge, at least timeline wise.
Yeah,
it's literally such an indictment.
Destiny. Hold on, can I just explain my mindset? I was really angry at Destiny there. I've never talked to him about this, but the Chloe Segal stuff, I was really frustrated that made it in there, just because there is such a different behind the scenes story. Yeah, I don't think he's a bad person to have added it. Like he's saying stuff that's factually true, but I mean, it's someone I know that died in a really, really, really violent, bloody way. And I don't know. I was definitely more Team Keffels back then when I was watching it, so I probably discounted it more than I should have.
Yeah, I mean, this checks out with sort of what I'm saying about you, is that you're making decisions and statements based on your connections and not based on any actual engagement with the subject.
I think I've engaged pretty...
Yeah. No, you just told me that you didn't engage with the manifesto properly and didn't take the evidence seriously because you had a connection with Keffels. That's what you just told me.
I've only talked like 1% of the time, so all of y'all are just going to have to indulge me.
Fair.
I have been doing a show called Too Long Didn't Watch, where I'm watching old debates. And the way that I remember a debate was Sargon of Akkad got blown the fuck out by Destiny. Because he just kept repeating the same argument over and over again. That was my memory of this debate. I'm watching it again, and I'm taking notes. And as I'm taking notes, I'm seeing Sargon make half a dozen points that didn't even register with me at the time. And the reason why is because at the time, I was emotionally biased towards Destiny's side instead of trying to view it objectively. And I think we all consume content in a slanted way, where our relationships basically color the way that we perceive things. So if what it took was somebody I know is being personally affected by this, and on top of that, the person who's the subject tried to backstab me, and as a result, I'm analyzing this information more objectively. I don't think that's like a specific character flaw to Brianna. I think that's how most humans process information.
I think that if at a certain point of when the stakes are so high that it's $100,000 that has probably been scammed out of the trans community, out of probably people who are pretty poor that are giving money.
Meme, it's 60,000, but yeah,
sorry,
continue.
Yeah, whatever. It's all a scam because it's built off of a lie in the first place, Connor. Because it wasn't Kiwi Farms that did it. Okay, so it's all a scam actually. But beyond the point,
Keffels allegedly didn't know that it wasn't Kiwi Farms at the time of the swatting.
That's allegedly. I don't think that's true. I thought she admitted that she did know, but she decided to go after Kiwi Farms to the target.
The quote was she didn't know until after the campaign had already started, and she didn't think that there was enough momentum to go after Docspin.
Throwing me off of what I was going to say now.
My bad.
Well, what did you just talk about? What did you just talk about? Oh, sorry, that's it. The stakes are higher when you're a public-facing activist with a large following who's got a lot of trust from left-wing communities, and you're vouching for a fundraiser. There's a different level of stakes
This is what I think anyone... Hold on just 1 second, Connor. I think anyone... Like, this has basically been the last 2 years of my life, right? So I started off really not liking Destiny, like completely hating him. We got off in a huge public Twitter feud at one point, and me really siding with Keffels, partially because Kiwi Farms had gone after me so hard, right? After that, I started watching a lot of Destiny's content, and I start going, oh, this guy's actually extremely talented. I really like the way he's talking about this stuff here. And, I got to be friends with Kyla. And, slowly, like, I built this bridge with DGG. And to be really honest, I think he's kind of converted me over to that worldview, right? I think you can see this in my public actions. I'm a lot more pro free speech than I probably was 2 years ago. And I can look back at the, like, Keffels Destiny fight here, and I understand a lot of the things that Keffels did, like, were really out of bounds now. Like, there was a lot of context that I didn't understand back then, like her getting his Wikipedia edited with sexual misconduct allegations. So I think if you look at the totality of where I've gone for the last 2 years, from starting in this place where I'm instinctively on Keffels' side, to building this bridge with DGG, making a very hard break with the progressive left on October 7th, which has been extremely painful for my career, and to where I am today, where I'm doing stuff like trigonometry, I think there's a very consistent pattern of shift here. And I think there's so much evidence there that this is in good faith. It is what I genuinely think. My opinions have genuinely changed. I just think it's cynicism to not see that.
That I have a point that I want to make off the piggyback, and then I want to let Kuihman go, and then I want to make the final point. And we're actually hitting 90 minutes. We agreed to be together for an hour. Kuihman, I know that I said that I would hang out with your Spurgs, but it turns out I have another commitment at 8:30 p.m. So if your callers want to talk to me another day, I'm happy to do it, but probably not tonight. And then what I wanted to say is Kuihman has an at-home advantage. This is part of the reason why I like the cynicism of the commentary community, is that in politics, oftentimes what politics is building relationships, building bridges, trying to get people who have money, clout, and influence to share goals, to work together towards a common goal. And that's obviously going to bias you when you're a part of a tribe. Part of what I think is valuable about commentary is the fact that they really don't have a tribe. They're kind of a bunch of fucking piranha waiting at the bottom of the fucking lake, waiting to rip you to fucking shreds, because at the end of the day, they're there for that. Not necessarily building a tribe and pushing in the same direction. Kuihman, I want to let you go, and then I want to bring up the final point that I had kind of as a closing out.
Let me go on what I don't even remember what was being said before you gave that.
If you have any response to Brianna or me for the past minute, or I can go into the last spot.
Yeah, I would just like to see the change in behavior and the addressing of the mistruths that have been spread over many years would be great, but I don't think that's going to happen, personally.
Well, this might allow you to repeat yourself in a second then. The kind of final closeout was, don't let Brianna placate you with niceties and talk about bridge building considering her history. The next comment was, watched and supported every terrible action Keffels did. I don't think we should take that comment because we basically just moved past that comment. But you're saying that this change is not genuine. So what I would say is, Brianna, we're hitting. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Sorry. Okay.
What I was going to say is we agreed to 60 minutes. We've been here for 90. I have an engagement at 8:30. I think this was sufficiently, like, we moved through all the points and addressed them. Maybe not to everybody's satisfaction, but we did address them. So do you have anything that you want to talk about in reference to maybe your evolution over the past like year or two and whether or not, you know, it's genuine? I think you just did, but if you want to do it again.
I think people out there can look at my public statements and make their own their own conclusion. Again, I will just say there's no person, no matter how honest, that can survive this playbook. If you come through everything someone has ever said and you look at it cynically and you take it in bad faith, you're going to find inconsistencies. It's exactly what has happened here. Talk to the people that know me. I think if you're watching a show right now, you know Connor's someone that has a lot of integrity. We get along because we share a worldview. Look at the people that I work with on my team. Look at my friends, right? Yeah, I'm not someone who gets everything right, but I think the fact that I am willing to go up against my own side, I actually think that speaks very strongly for my character. And, you know, people can make their own assessment about that.
Mr. Kuihman, do you kind of want to give a final thoughts, final criticisms?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not about whether you've made mistakes or fucked up over the years, or if you can point out little hypocrisies. You've been quite exceptionally dishonest. You were saying earlier that you didn't claim to have a degree after you were public facing, and that wasn't true. You pretend you didn't know what Jace Connors was all about. You have, sorry, what the Total Biscuit thing? You were waffling around that for a very long time. I just don't.
What's not waffling?
Disagree. I just don't see the change here. I don't see the accountability. I don't see the recognition of the bad shit you've done at all. I think you were just constantly throwing out excuses and bringing up, oh, but my life was really hard at the time. But I understand that I lied about that, but my life was really hard at the time, and that's been the whole conversation.
Didn't lie about anything.
So, I mean, you can say that. You knew that you didn't have a degree. You certainly knew that was untrue when you said it.
I have a question for you. Did you put out the? You might have answered this already. Did you put out the 20-minute commentary on Brianna today, half expecting her to get pissed off and not show up?
You specific because I was 100% confirming that she would, regardless of what happened. My plan initially was to drop it afterwards, but then I was like, I didn't have a video go out today, and so I wanted to make sure that I had something go up earlier in the day.
Okay. All right. I
was going to confront you on the points first, and then the video was going to come out. But yeah.
Okay. I'll save my schizo conspiracy theories to myself then. But anyways, all right. Well, I actually want to thank Brianna because obviously getting grilled by commentary isn't fun. I want to thank Kuihman for his horrible, aggressive autism that is, you know, a useful but dangerous tool. And then where can people find you, Kuihman, even though I think you're doing pretty good tonight? So.
Yeah, twitter.com/Kuihman, x.com/Kuihman, discord.gg/Kuihman, youtube.com/Kuihman live.
Okay. Does anybody want to say anything else before we kind of dip out?
Good.
All right. Goodbye, Kuihman. I'm going to kick you out. And then Brianna, if you want to hang out for a second.
Sounds good.
See you later. I'm leaving. I'm not getting kicked. I wasn't going to bitch about the moderation, okay? I wasn't going to bitch about the muting. I wasn't going to bring it up. It was fucking insufferable, though, because I got interrupted so many fucking times. And it's like, you can't do, like, these internet debates without being able to interrupt someone. If they start lying, if they start saying something that's not true, that you know is not true, you have to be able to stop them there. You do. That's why Destiny says that in every fucking conversation. He says, stop me if you've got a disagreement. I'll stop you if I've got a disagreement. He says that every fucking conversation. He says that. And it's so real. It's so true. Because you have to be able to stop them. Because you can't let them build 5 minutes of points on something that's a lie at the start. That's retarded. Wait, was Connor trying to say that you releasing the video today was a way for you to run from the debate and hope she wouldn't show up? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he thinks it's well poisoning. I don't know. But, I mean, I can literally verify with DMs. I can screenshot stuff where I said to people, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to raid into it or if I'm going to release it beforehand. And I even said, I think I said to DK today. I mean, I'll prove this right now, just so that Connor can stop his gay little schizo conspiracy theories, okay? We'll do it right now. Also, I'm going to read donos in a second, okay, guys? I will. We are uploading a screenshot right now. I'm proving to Connor. I'm sending it to him, too. I'm sending it to him so he can see. Here we go. Okay, the video is literally ready to go out. Do you think I just post or use the convo to promo and raid it? I would say post first, but it'll probably be about the same. Was not a plan to run. There was not a plan to run. There was not a plan to dodge. I have a gay shit. He's trying to out a ledge here. All right. Jesus Christ, voice crack. All right. That was fun. That was, guys, Bloodsports is so back, okay? I'm bringing Bloodsports back. I'm bringing Bloodsports back. We're bringing sexy back. Okay.